before every game, I would go out onto the baseball field and I would walk across the whole outfield and just walk back and
Okay.
forth, but barefoot.
Weird.
I always State Fair was kind of always just one of the things that I wanted to play at just because of my past experience with the guys that played here, and nobody else wanted to put on the catcher's gear, and I was the dumb one that was like, I'll do it.
See, I was the same way with soccer. I became the goalie because everyone else was afraid of getting, balls shot at them. Yeah. So, yep, I get it.
I can look at a hitter and be like, oh, this guy can't hit a fastball, or this guy can't hit a slider.
Even their first at bat?
Yeah, usually I can look at somebody's batting stance, and I can tell.
It's so interesting.
Yeah, it's a weird thing.
I wish I would have known that. I would have brought my bat and had you tell me what you pitched to me. Now I'm so curious. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Next Gen Podcast. Today, I am here with my first interview, a little bit out of my comfort zone of someone I don't actually know through family, friends, but not quite in person yet. So, everyone, welcome Caden Paxton. Caden, thanks for coming on the show today. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm great. I'm, just out here living life. We've been real busy. We're actually starting to wrap up the podcast season. This is our first season of the show. For anyone out there listening that's been here for every episode, thank you. Our last episode will be out March 21st. So just a couple ones after this, and then you'll get a little summer break and we'll hit you back in August. But today I want to focus in obviously on Caden. So I actually met Caden. If anyone listened to our John Schuberg episode, he is a good buddy of mine and randomly was like, hey, talk to my roommate. He's also an athlete and works in media. So we get a little double whammy with that. So we always start off the show, Caden, with some quick kind of random questions. Okay. If you watch John's episode, they're probably pretty much the same questions. I changed them up a little bit, but not that much. So I always say there's no wrong answers, but I will judge your answers. So just give me the first thing that you can think of. So what is your lucky number?
13.
Why?
I don't really know why. My favorite baseball player when I was little, he was number 13. Okay. And so I kind of started wearing it. And then everybody told me that it was unlucky. Mm-hmm. And so then I kind of flipped the script and wanted to be different. So it's my lucky number.
Who was the player?
Salvador Perez.
I figured, in baseball especially. Where'd you grow up? Are you a Royals fan originally?
So I'm actually an Atlanta Braves fan.
Weird.
It is weird. Yeah, I know. But I grew up in Windsor, Missouri, which is
okay, cool.
35 minutes south of Sedalia.
Nice. All right, so you're close to home then right now.
Yeah, I'm pretty close. Yeah.
That's nice. Okay. Who has been your biggest influence on your athletic career? You could go a role model, a coach, a parent, whoever you think really pushed you to be into baseball.
So probably there's two people I can think of right now.
Okay.
And so one of them is a guy named Kenny Prado. He's originally from Miami, Florida, but when I was in elementary school and middle school, I played for a travel team in Sedalia. Mm-hmm. And so Kenny played with State Fair at the time. And so our State Fair coach, he owns the same facility that he used to own the facility that we would practice at. And so there was always a bunch of State Fair guys in there. And then Kenny would always just kind of happen to be in there when I was in it at the same time. And I got lucky enough to hit with him. And so I was hitting with a college guy. I thought it was so cool because I was a little kid. And then, so that's the first one I can think of. And another one is my coach at that time. His name is Alex Beck. And he was a really good coach. And it was just, I loved playing for him. And it kind of, I still keep in contact with him today.
I will die on the hill. I grew up playing softball. And I will die on the hill that, in any sport, a coach can make or break, if you love the sport, they can make you totally just despise it, or they can make it actually fun to go to practice and want to get better, or of course, be the end of your career because you're like, I'm done with this sport. And really it was just the coach of the organization. So that's good to have those role models that, keep pushing you and are positive influences. What is your biggest superstition?
Ooh.
Obviously, baseball related.
Yeah. So right now I can't really think of one. But so when I was at Hannibal in the spring, I really got into, as weird as it sounds, grounding. Do you know what that is? So grounding is basically where I don't even know how. One of the guys I played with a couple summers ago got me into it, and then
Mhm.
I kind of picked it up last spring. And so it was before every game, I would go out onto the baseball field and I would walk across the whole outfield and just walk back and
Okay.
forth, but barefoot.
Weird. Okay,
And
so
it
what
so
without
grounded.
shoes, how is that different?
So it's supposed to like it's just like to me it became a superstitious thing, but people say that when you walk barefoot out on the grass, it kind of connects you to the earth and the field. And I don't know. It's like one
I
of those
like
like
that.
mental things. I don't know. But that became my
Yeah,
biggest
gets
one
you in
last
your
spring for sure.
routine.
Yeah. And so every
I
home
like it.
game,
Do you
I
have
would just go out there and walk on the field.
Makes sense. Gotta get your extra time in to will you do it at away games or
If I have time.
okay, fair enough.
Yeah, if I have time, I do it.
What yeah. Is there a specific game in your athletic career that was, like, your favorite that you just, like, really remember being, I don't know, fun or memorable or anything like that?
Yeah, so the summer going into my senior year of baseball, I
Mhm.
started off the summer 0 for 30, which it was
Awesome.
the biggest slump I've ever been in my life.
Makes
And
sense.
there was one day where like I was like before the game, I was like, I haven't got a hit yet this summer. I was like, I got nothing else to lose. I was like, I'm just gonna go up there and swing. And
Right?
I ended up going 3 for 3 with a homer that day. And
Okay.
then that game, I like that game because it kind of showed me like how to like handle adversity
Yeah,
on the
for
field.
sure.
Because I mean,
I
nobody wants to start out 0 for 30. Like that's
no.
crazy. 0 for 30 is
It's
crazy.
kind of impressive, honestly. Like, you had to be
Exactly,
trying at some
exactly,
point.
exactly.
Yeah.
And so it
I
got to
like
the
it.
point where I was just like, okay, I don't even care anymore. I'm just gonna go out there and
Right.
swing. And so like I
Makes
mean,
sense.
ever since that game though, that's kind of been my mindset. It's like I might go 0 for 5 today, but I don't care. I'm still gonna go up and swing tomorrow.
Right, for sure. And then my last one before we can, like, actually dive into everything is if you had the skills to be on any team at any level, what would be the team you chose to play for?
The Atlanta Braves.
I cannot believe you with that one. That's okay. Whatever floats your boat, man, but that would not be my answer.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get into I told you earlier, stalking some of, this is what I have to do with every episode. I go on, I'm gonna stalk your socials. I'm gonna look, especially for our athletes, at your, any PBR records you have, Max Preps, anything. I'm finding all the high school
Everything. Yep.
nitty, yeah, yeah. And I found on one of your pages, I think for your like high school club team, your personal statement, you said that you started playing at 3 years old. How is that even possible?
Okay, so wow, I didn't even remember that I said that.
That's
But
always my goal, is try to surprise you at some point.
so I had a big brother
Okay.
and he also played sports. His main
Mhm.
sport was football, but he played
Okay.
baseball, football, and basketball.
Gotcha.
And I only play so when I was little, I played football, but like for the most part, I only played basketball and baseball.
Mhm.
But when he would have practice, like my dad coached him for a while. And
Right.
so like I was just kind of always around it. So
Okay.
like
So you
so
weren't
like
really on the
yeah,
team,
I
you were
wasn't
just
really like on a
there.
team. I was just that's when I first I'd say picked up a baseball. Like I just was there.
Right. Fair enough. See, my little
I
brother
was actually probably
also
about like 7 like years old
oh, so you
when I
lied on your, Max Preps or whatever I found that on?
I guess so.
Embarrassing. Yeah. Because I was saying, like, my little brother was always, like, grew up, like, watching me and my sister play sports and whatever,
Yeah.
and Blue Valley Rec, which is, like, in Overland Park in, like, our hometown, the biggest, I guess, like, youth athletics complex, everyone just starts
Yeah.
out going through Blue Valley Rec for all their sports. They didn't let you start playing baseball until you're, like, 5 or 6, like, kindergarten, and my dad was like, "No, I'm finding somewhere my son can start younger," and so he
Mhm.
started when he was, like, 3 or 4, in like I don't even know some small town in Kansas, like 40 minutes away. My dad convinced all these parents of like 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds to go out and play t-ball, and it was so cute. But it was kind of like they're probably too young for this, like they're not even understanding what's happening right now. So, I mean, hey, stuck with it so far. So far so good. Okay. So obviously starting off around family, was there a big push to be in sports, or was that something that you always were into?
I wouldn't say I was ever pushed into it. My
Okay,
family was very like, if you don't want to do it, like you don't have to. But
that's
like
great.
being the little brother, looking up to my older brother, it was just like I
Of
want to do
course.
that. I want to do what he's doing.
Yeah, I
And so
get
then it was
that.
just like anytime he had practice, I wanted to be there. And
Mhm.
I was like, I just always wanted to be a part of the team, even when I was
Right.
like too little to be on the team.
Fair
And so
enough. Well,
it was just always something I've wanted to do.
and then when you got your start, did you like your actual I'm actually on a roster now start? Were you doing, I'm guessing, some sort of little league or
Yeah. So the first time I was actually on the team was like T-ball.
yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I started on that. I mean, I don't remember too much of it, but like I
Who
started on
does?
T-ball. Exactly. That was a
Yeah.
long time ago.
Right. It's just for fun. You're okay, so and you said you played multiple sports.
Yes.
How did you like narrow it down and be like baseball is my number one that I want to stick with and focus on?
Well, so when I was like in like fifth grade, I'd say fifth grade was my
Okay.
last year playing football. And
Okay.
then that was sixth grade was the year I decided to start playing baseball in the fall because I
Gotcha.
could. And
Right.
at that time, I was kind of leaning towards baseball. And then I really like basketball. I did and I still do.
Okay.
But like
Right.
I wasn't tall enough to play basketball.
That's all right. How tall are you?
I'm 5'9". And so
Oh, okay, so I'm taller than
yeah.
you. Yeah. And I
Yeah.
couldn't play basketball either,
Yeah.
so,
So
it's fine.
I really like basketball. I was okay at it.
Mhm.
I was just never tall enough. And so like I knew baseball was gonna be the one I had to choose with. And so I just stuck with it.
Right. Fair enough. And you played for your high school at Windsor High School, right?
Yeah, I
Sweet.
did.
And varsity for 3 years. It's
Yes,
impressive.
it would have been 4, but COVID happened
Okay.
my freshman year.
COVID
So it
ruins
got canceled.
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so is that like how many guys try out for the team? Like in
I
high
mean, we
school?
had well, so it was like a small school. So I mean, we didn't I don't think we
Okay.
ever made I think we made cuts 1 year. And then we had like 30 kids try out, but like
Okay.
usually we'd have
Gotcha.
about like 20 on the team. But like my junior and senior year, we didn't have to make cuts
Okay.
because we didn't have that many kids.
Fair enough. I played softball. I started all 4 years of varsity, which sounds really impressive until you know that there's about 15 girls who try out. So, it's not actually that impressive, like,
Hey,
which
you
is
can
so
still
funny
say you
because our
played
baseball
varsity.
team. Right, exactly. I lettered, I got my captain, whatever. I did it. But it's funny because like at our school, like John played on North Baseball, and they have like 70 guys try out and like 4 or 5 teams and still make cuts. And then I'm over here like, yeah, there was one other girl going for my position. It wasn't that deep. So it's a big difference. I think it's always funny, especially the difference of okay, in Missouri, do you guys do high school ball in the fall or the spring?
We do it in the spring.
Okay. See, for some reason, softball in Kansas does their school season in the spring, but Missouri does it in the fall, and it just sucks for like all of our club teams because
Yeah.
you're like, awesome. For those early spring games, we're going to miss all the Kansas girls. And for all those fall games, we're going to miss all of our Missouri girls. And we really only got to play together over the summers, which was kind
Yeah.
of
Which was always
weird.
weird because like I've heard of a lot of schools, like a lot of the like especially bigger schools, softball would always
Hmm.
play in the fall. But like my high school, they played in the spring.
Huh. It must have
So
just been like league by league.
yeah, I think it was just like maybe by classes or something. Cause like we were class 2 in baseball
Yeah.
and softball.
Okay. That makes sense. We were class 6 for everything, I think.
Yeah.
I don't
But
know.
see,
I
like
have no idea.
if we would have played in the fall or softball would have played in the fall, there probably wouldn't have
Hmm.
been enough people for a team because like volleyball and football.
Soccer. That too. Yeah,
Yeah.
our big thing was both women's soccer and softball were the same season, and we had a little bit of an overlap there, and they
Yeah.
all chose soccer. So when I wanted to be like to my friends, hey, try out for softball, and you're probably gonna make varsity. Like it's
Yeah,
not that
exactly.
versus don't get playing time for the C team or whatever it is. So, when did you know that you wanted to like look at baseball post high school and as like a collegiate athlete? When did you kind of figure out like, okay, I'm going
Uh,
to start this process?
I'd say like when I decided I wanted to play college baseball was probably around that like same time I quit playing football because
Okay. Oh wow, early on.
yeah, I mean it was pretty early. And so
Okay.
like I decided that I want to start leaning more towards baseball. And so then
Mhm.
I was like, okay. And then I was playing on that team in Sedalia at the time, so I was
Yeah.
around the guys that played at State Fair when I was
Right.
young. And so being around them and like hitting with them, talking to them, I was like, oh, this seems awesome. And so
Right.
then
Okay.
I was like, okay, yeah, I want to do this.
I love it. How did you go through like the recruitment process? Did you look anywhere else? I mean, obviously, Hannibal, but did you look at any other places to go play? Did you look at any higher levels or you wanted to stick close to home?
So I mean, everybody's goal is Division 1. When you
Right.
that's like the dream everybody has, especially when you like just decide. Like,
Yeah.
so like obviously I was like, oh, I want to play at Kansas. I want to play at
Mhm.
Kentucky. I want to play at Tennessee.
Right.
Everybody has that dream. But then once you get in high school, you kind of realize like, okay, I go to a small school. Like
Yeah.
nobody's going to come watch a Class 2 baseball game to try to
You
pick
don't
you up.
know. You never know.
But most of the time. And
Okay.
so, and then I always like State Fair was kind of always just one of the things that I wanted to play at just because of my past experience with the guys that played here. And like they told me everything about State Fair, like the baseball program, the coaches. And so
Mhm.
like that was always kind of like once I had the realization, okay, I'm probably not going to go to a high Division 1 school. I was
Right.
like, okay, State Fair is like up there on the list.
Yeah.
And so State Fair, it was weird. I kind of like manifested it
Okay.
because
I like that.
it was kind of weird because I knew I wanted to play here, not just because it was
Mhm.
close to home, but just because the baseball coaches I really liked. And so
Right.
I reached out to our hitting coach, that's our current hitting coach when I was in high
Okay.
school. I was like, hey, like I'm a high school kid. Do you give hitting lessons? And
Right.
he said yes. So I started doing hitting lessons with him in high school. And so then that put me in front of him face to face.
Smart.
And then I'd show up to games. If anytime I saw the coach, I'd make sure to
Right.
walk up, shake his hand. Like I put myself in front of them to where they couldn't miss me. And so
Does a lot.
they were my first offer in high school. And
Okay.
I was like, okay, like, yeah, thank you for the offer. I'm going to wait, see what else happens. No more. I got home and I was talking to my parents. I was like, I'm going to commit. I was
Yeah.
like, and then that next morning I texted both coaches and I was like, hey, like, I'm going to go ahead and take the offer. Like, I'm excited to come to State Fair. I want to be at State Fair.
Awesome. And then, okay, I was looking at a bunch of your different stuff, like I said, and I saw catcher, I saw third base, I saw first base. What's your now like primary position?
Catcher.
Okay. How did you choose catcher and how are your knees doing?
My knees, it depends on the day. Sometimes I
Yeah.
wake up and they pop a lot and then I just got to get them moving.
Yep.
How I chose to be a catcher is my dad was the coach when I was little.
Okay.
And nobody else wanted to put on the catcher's gear. And I was the dumb one that was like, I'll do it.
See, I was the same way with soccer. I became the goalie because everyone else was afraid of getting, balls shot at them.
Yeah.
So, yep, I get it. Have you ever like thought about, see, I haven't interviewed a catcher yet. I don't think. It's all been pitchers. There's so many pitchers in this world and they're all POs and they all have the same attitude. They all do. I think
so
I've had like
lame.
4 in a row.
It's so
lame.
lame.
I know. So why catcher? Besides for your dad, put you in the place for it. Why'd you stick with it? Why'd you decide that was your favorite place to be?
When I was little, it was like coach pitch. So like I was just back there with the gear on. I wasn't really doing much. But as I got older, you start calling signs. Like pitchers are good. Being a good catcher becomes important. And so I stuck with it because it was like, I felt like I was the captain. I was like the quarterback on the field. Any pitch that's thrown.
I love that. Yeah.
Any pitch that's thrown, I'm the one calling it. Like I'm involved in every single play.
Mm-hmm.
And like it seems like a lot of pressure. It's like, oh, if I call the wrong pitch, like if this guy hit a home run because he hits fastballs well and I called a fastball, that's partly my fault.
Right.
And so it seems like a lot of pressure, but to me, like people ask me how I know what pitches to call sometimes, and I'm like, to be honest, I don't think about it. I just like I can look at a hitter and be like, oh, this guy can't hit a fastball, or this guy can't hit a slider.
Even their first at bat.
Yeah, usually I can look at somebody's batting stance. And I can tell.
That's so interesting.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. And
I wish I would have known that. I would have brought my bat and like had you tell me what you pitched to me. Now I'm so curious.
Yeah, so like like I said, it's something I've always kind of been able to do. But see, I watch a lot of sports. So like I've watched a lot of baseball. And so like I don't know. I've just always been able to do it. And it's like one of my skills that I tell people. Like I know what pitch to call. Yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
But like when I make a pitch call, like I get mad when pitchers shake me off because like when I call it, like I call it for a reason. Like I believe in that call. Like I'm never second guessing what I'm calling.
Okay. So I just talked to a couple weeks ago with Jonathan Sprinkle, which became very confusing in my notes if I had one Johnny S and another Johnny S. But and he's a pitcher. He played in the minors and he was talking about when he is having a rough day, he, just walked 3 guys in a row. He looks to his catcher to help him, take a breath, calm down, get back in his mojo. How do you do that with your pitchers? Do you have any like routines, or if you can tell they're just struggling, what do you do to help them out?
It really depends on the pitcher.
Okay.
So like, I won't say a name, but I have an example that I had from last spring.
Yeah.
So like each pitcher is different. There's pitchers that are really quiet,
right?
Pitchers that are going to get really mad.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, as a catcher, I feel like part of my job is to get to know the pitchers. So
Yeah.
I hang out with pitchers a lot because
Okay.
it makes, one, the connection better between me and him. He can trust me more if he knows me. And then 2, I know how to handle that pitcher on the mound. And so I have a guy that I have in mind that I caught, and I caught him almost every time he pitched this last spring when I was at Hannibal.
Got it.
And he was very like, if he started off bad, he got very like into his own head. Like he would lose confidence really fast.
Right.
So like with him, it was more of like when I would go out and talk to him, it was reassuring him that like, hey, like we're good. Like we're still up 2 runs. That guy on first base does not mean anything. Like it's just building his confidence back up.
Mm-hmm.
I've had other guys where it's like they just get mad, but like you can't like sugarcoat it to them. Like you have to go out and like, hey, like lock in, let's go. Like, you know why you're getting mad at yourself. Like we're in the middle of a game.
Right.
And that brings them back in. So each pitcher is different. But so I try to get to know our pitchers the best that I can and kind of get to know their personalities. And so that's how I go off how to handle the situation.
So like John, I know you guys probably haven't really gotten to play too much together, both being, young on the team and injury gets in the way. How would you talk him down?
So to be honest, like me and John's relationship, he's like the one I'd go out there and I'd start making jokes.
Okay.
But like I'd tell him like, dude, like you suck. Like what are we doing?
Right.
But he know we both
work
know
for him.
Exactly. Like we both know like that's our relationship.
Yeah.
He's not somebody that I have to be like, oh, like it's okay. It's okay.
Mm-hmm. You
like,
don't have to baby him.
Exactly. I can mess with him and I know that if I get a smile out of him, we'll be all right.
All right. Perfect. See, that makes total sense. Like I've known him since he was probably like 5 years old, and you don't want to be on his bad side, but if you know how to joke with him, then that definitely gets through to him the easiest. And for sure.
Me and his relationship is very like we mess with each other a lot. So that's just like,
I'm sure being roommates, that totally helps out too.
It does. Because like he'll say something, I'll say something back, and then like, oh, he'll take something when I'm gone and hide it, and then like I'll mess with him. Like it's like just a never-ending game.
Right. That's fun though. You have to have those relationships with your teammates, and that makes it fun to actually be there, and you're not just going through the motions. You're actually friends and teammates. So
and there's never a dull moment between us.
Perfect. I want to dive into a little bit more of your, current situation, the injury. What happened?
So in high school, it starts in high school. I've had elbow problems twice before I got to college. Mm-hmm. And I did like physical therapy to try to fix it back then. And I lost a lot of velocity behind like the ball that I throw.
Right.
And I never was able to get back to where I was in high school.
Gotcha.
And so like I recall like my junior year, I got clocked at one time. I threw like, it was like, I think like 84 out of a catcher squat throwing down to second base.
Damn.
And then I got hurt, and then I haven't probably touched 80 since then. And so we come back to this summer or this fall, we were playing a game down in Springfield, and I was in the game. I was catching a guy still second, and I popped up to make a throw. Well, the throw didn't make the second base. I like spiked it about probably 10 to 15 feet in front of second base. It was like it was probably the worst throw I've ever made in my life. And I felt this little like kind of like a pulling or like a tug.
Yeah.
Like right here in my elbow. So like right in this area.
Oh, yeah, right there.
Yeah. Where the scar is. And so like when that happened, I was kind of like, oh, like that didn't really feel right.
Right.
But I was like, I might have just like, it didn't like hurt that bad. It just like felt weird. Okay. And so I was kind of just like, well, I might have just like thrown it weird. I rushed the throw. Like I just like tweaked something. Yeah. Well, a couple pitches later, in the same at bat, the same kid, because he was safe because I made a bad throw.
Right.
He's still third base. Well, as soon as I pop up, as I'm coming here, as soon as my arm gets to this point, and I'm in layback.
Yep.
The biggest pop I've ever felt.
Ooh.
And I just like immediately, like, you just know. You
Yeah.
know when something happens. And immediately I just like drop to the ground and I'm just like grimacing. Like, and I called time and I walked, or everybody was confused.
Right.
And I walked out and the pitcher that was on the mound, I was like, dude, you got to give me a second. I was like, I'm pretty sure I just tore my UCL. And
Awesome.
so I called time, go out there, tell him that. And then I signal our coach, and our head coach was actually gone on the day because
Okay.
we had decided to, we had 2 games that day. We had one team that was playing here against a team that came into play against us. And then most of the sophomores, we went down to Springfield with our hitting coach.
Got it.
Well, I tell our hitting coach, I was like, his name's J-Day. I was like, J-Day, I was like, you got to come out here. And he's confused. And he comes
Right.
out, he's like, what's going on? I glove over the face. I was like, I just tore my UCL. And he was like, oh, like, yeah, go to the dugout. Like, go get your stuff off, go find the trainer. And then I came out, and then I haven't played since then. And then so I went to the doctor. I got in a couple weeks later. It took me a little bit to get into the doctor just because you know how stuff like that is. It can be hard to get into.
It's so much fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I got in, told him what happened. He's like, yeah, this doesn't sound good. We got to get an MRI. He's like, it's most likely going to have surgery though. But you know, you still keep that hope. But it's like, okay, well, maybe you don't have to.
Right.
Well, MRI comes back. I had a partial tear in my UCL. And so
Not good.
I had to get Tommy John surgery, and I've been out ever since.
Do you have any like idea of what your plan of recovery looks like? Any date that you'll be able to start playing again?
So because of the surgery, I can't not play this spring. So I'm taking a medical red shirt. But I just started hitting about 2.5, 3 weeks ago. And right now I'm only off the tee. But Friday I'm excited. It's the first day I can hit soft toss.
All right. So
it doesn't sound like a lot, but like when you haven't hit a ball that's moving and you missed like almost 200 days, I was like, you get excited. It's like the night before Christmas when you're a little kid. Like that's what it feels like.
I love that. That's so funny. You're counting down the days till Santa comes.
I am. and then I go back to the doctor February 6th, which is obviously when this comes out, it's going to be way before.
I know, when this comes out, we'll have to have some sort of like update. I'll keep in touch with you. Sure. We'll have an update for all the listeners out there. They'll already know that you're back in play.
Yeah.
We're speaking, we're manifesting this one.
Exactly. And so I'm hoping to start the throwing program after my next appointment. So not next weekend, but the weekend after. I'm hoping to start throwing after that. Right. And so then hopefully I would be 100% by the end of April, early May, and just in time for summer ball.
Okay, that's perfect. So will you play in like a collegiate league over summer, or what will that look like?
So the past 2 summers I played on the same team, and it's the summer league team here. We play in the Mink League, which it stands for Missouri, Iowa, Nebraska, Kansas, but now it's just Missouri and Iowa teams.
Okay.
But they kept the same name. And I play for the Sedalia Bombers, and we've had several guys. Like last year, we had like 6 guys from Arizona. I think some of them are coming back to play with us this summer. And it's just I love playing for the team. I grew up like kind of watching the team in the summer. I'd go to the games. And so like now that I'm on the team, it's sick. I love it. And so that's where I'll play this summer.
Okay. Well, hopefully you'll be healthy and ready to roll. But not to make you, talk about probably the worst moments in your baseball career. Let's now talk about a positive that came out of that. As we talked about earlier, I was stalking some socials and John had told me, hey, Caden's doing all this media stuff. I know you said you've been doing media and just kind of jumped back into it. How'd you get started in media?
So when I was younger, I watched YouTube a lot. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, oh, how do you do this? And so I it started with iMovie on my laptop at the time. I would mess around with it. And then I was like, oh, this is kind of fun. And then obviously, so I do a lot of sports, like content based stuff for all my own accounts on my team's account. And so I kind of was like, would see stuff that professional teams and college teams would post on social media. Now I always just thought it looked cool.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I wonder how to make this stuff. So I watched a lot of YouTube tutorials, a lot of TikTok tutorials, and I just kind of taught myself how to do it. And it's something that I kind of fell in love with. And it's like what I want to make a career out of.
I love that. Okay. So what specifically, like if you had to give yourself like a job title would be like the ideal, taking that past where you are now that you would want to do with it?
So I would either want to be the social media director for a team or like a college team,
Mm-hmm.
or I would just want to be a like videographer or photographer for a team. Those are like the
Yeah.
two things like I just want to do. I'm not so much I'm not a huge into the marketing side of stuff, but like I'm more of in
The
like the creative,
creative.
yeah, the creative
Yeah.
like creating content type of that's
Right.
where I like to stay
See,
at.
I wish I'm more on the marketing side. I do some of our socials here and I literally do the same thing. I look up tutorials and I literally go on Pinterest and find like, oh, some college team put this graphic out. I'm going to, kind of copy and paste it
Yeah.
and make it my own. But I do more of that marketing side. The creative side, like I have the ideas, but no ability to do them. So just being able to teach yourself says a lot about it's fun. Yes.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work. And like when you're on Photoshop or whatever and you're like, I know what I want to do, but I don't know how to get there
Exactly. It's like
is
how do I
so
put the thought
frustrating.
on paper?
Yeah, exactly. Like I just don't know where to find the right button.
Which
So
it's crazy too because like some people would say I was artistic because like I make like Photoshop stuff like that and
mhm,
graphics. But like to me, like if you hand me a pencil and a piece of paper and told me to draw
same.
a picture, I cannot draw to save my life. But
No, me
it's like
neither.
something with the digital side of it, something just clicks in my brain that I can
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah, I'm helping right now. The Kansas City Comets is our indoor soccer team, and they are like affiliated
Mhm.
with 810, whatever. And so I've helped out with them for a while. And they asked me to help them make a t-shirt design. And they weren't understanding when I was saying, like, if you just want like your logo that's an already like vector image, it's already good
Mhm.
to go, easy, no problem, can totally do it. You want me to make my own like artistic graphic, like of like a vector image of a player or something, no shot. No shot. The
Exactly.
actual artistic side, no. But if you want me to like do a cutout of something, I got you.
Yep, exactly.
So that actual artistic side, no. But when it's type and it's those graphics that are already established, I'm good to go. So
And so like
um
I do a lot of like that stuff, like sports stuff. But I will say I'm a big fan of TikTok.
same.
And
Yeah.
I post a lot of TikToks that aren't necessarily sports related. They're just kind of
Yeah.
I make TikToks because I think it's fun, and that
I did
started
not
doing.
find your TikTok page. Now I have more stalking to do.
I
I love
have
that.
I have a few videos that have like a decent amount of views. Like I think my
All
most
right.
popular one's like 300,000.
Okay. So
But
on the
it's
810 social media on 810's TikTok, our most popular video is 300,000 views. So you're outdoing us.
and so like I'll get like a random one every now and then. It'll be like 10K. But like
Yeah.
the hardest part is trying to get the followers up. I can get views pretty good. I just
Right.
can't get followers. The followers
Yeah.
are so hard.
And then for you, is it always I run our TikTok. That's like the one social thing I really have
Mhm.
control over. Is it for me, it's really frustrating that the videos I put no effort into and just like throw it up there are the ones that blow up and then the ones that I spent so much time on, I think they're hilarious, do not land. Like they just
That
don't
that is real. That is
I
a
don't
real.
understand it.
I do the same thing, and I actually had somebody. So I posted one that I actually tried. I went to film a basketball game, and I made a TikTok
Okay.
out of it, and
Right.
I posted on
Like a
my own
highlight
account.
reel.
Yeah, it was just like kind of like my day in the life type thing,
Mhm.
but like it was harder than some of the other ones I posted. I posted
Yeah.
one. It was like 3 slides. I put some text on it. It went to and there was an audio that played in the background, and that one
Yeah.
got 10,000 views, and the other one got like 500.
I don't get it.
And
I do
somebody told me
get
they were
it.
like, John, I think it was John actually. John was like, you should just quit trying on TikToks. I was like, he's like, the ones that do good are the ones you don't try on.
Right. Like our one that blew up that has the 300,000 is literally Patrick Mahomes walking into training camp with a sound over it that says like when you think you're the coolest guy at the function, this guy walks in. And I was like, there's a 3-second video and just
Yep.
like audio in the background, but it's Mahomes, so obviously it does good. But then
Yep.
our ones that are like a clip from one of our shows or, I went around the office and did something funny or whatever it was, that one gets like 400 views. And I'm like,
Yep.
okay, cool, I give
Exactly.
up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
TikTok's a weird place. The algorithms are weird.
it is. I haven't figured it out yet, but I'm working on it. So you said you want to do that post college. What are you majoring in, or is that just like a side hustle project you do?
uh, my major is media communications. It's kind of,
Okay.
I basically just take classes and learn how to edit videos better and stuff like that. I mean,
Yeah,
that's what I'm studying and that's what I want to do. So they kind of go hand in hand.
love that. Is there any like how will you continue with baseball's been a lifelong love of yours?
Mhm.
How are you gonna continue being a baseball fan? Are you gonna coach, just watch the games? Is that something you want to do past college, or you're like done with baseball?
I wouldn't say I necessarily want to coach,
Okay.
just because like with what I'm trying to get into,
Right.
I'm not going to be able to have the time to coach and do
Right.
all that. But I mean, like if I get an offer to work for a professional like baseball team, like to do what I wanted to do, like I would
Mhm.
definitely take that job. So
Why
like
not?
that would kind of like keep baseball in my life as well as the media side of stuff.
Yeah,
But
doing what
also
you
like
wanna do.
if say like an NBA team or like an NFL team did it as well, I would also take that job. So
You'd
it
switch
really
out?
just depends. Yeah. But
So you're
I will
weird.
always I'll be a lifelong baseball fan. Like I will always
Mhm.
watch baseball on TV.
Right. So you're weird and like the Braves, but are you what are your local teams? Are you Chiefs fan, KU fan?
So I'm a Kansas fan. I'm a big
Okay,
time Kansas fan.
perfect. We
I
like
don't
that
know what,
answer.
yeah. My dad was a Jayhawks fan growing up, and so like I'm a diehard. Like I don't think I've
Perfect.
missed a game this season. I've watched every single basketball
Okay,
game.
watch them. I was like, going in person every season is impressive.
I haven't gone to every game in person, but I
Mhm.
have gone to a couple already this year.
Okay, good,
I
good. Which ones did
Allen
you make
Phil
it out to?
I made it to so football I went to the KU TCU football game.
I was
And then
there.
I made it to the Emporia State KU preseason basketball game.
Gotcha.
And then I watched them play who do they play? Oh, this is gonna bug me. Because
Who
I
was
took one of
it?
my it was like one of the very first ones. It was a non-conference game. I'd have to look at the schedule.
The
I took one of my
Washburn?
no, it wasn't a preseason. It was a regular season game.
Oh, okay. Oh, just
Oh, Oakland,
non-conference.
Oakland. It was Oakland.
Okay,
They played
gotcha.
Oakland. I went to that game, and I took
Remember
one of the
that.
kids. I took one of the kids from Canada because
Oh, wow, fun.
I had an extra ticket, and John. I don't know what John was doing. He had something going on.
Who knows? His parents have season tickets, and I text them every game that I work because I cover most of the
Mhm.
KU games for like 810 social media. And I text them every single game being like, hey, are you here? I know where their season tickets are. You would think they'd be they've
Yep.
I haven't seen them once this season. And I'm like,
I know
are
John
you
hasn't gone
sending
to a
them?
game yet. I don't think John's gone to a game, and I'm like,
Step up your
John.
game,
I was like, what are we doing, John?
Right.
So it's
Right.
not that far.
Yeah. So like if the Chiefs offered you a media position, you'd work for them.
If it was my only offer, yes. I'm not that big of a football fan. I'm not gonna lie,
Wow. Okay.
but I know I'm kind of it's different. A lot of people love football. I'm not that big of a football fan,
Fair enough. And
but
you
I mean,
mentioned NBA. Do you have an NBA
yes,
team?
kind of. So like always like growing up, I've always watched the 76ers. I don't know why.
Okay.
I just they always draft a lot of KU guys, so I kind of
Yep.
just follow
They
them. And
do.
then so like Joel Embiid, I've watched him since he graduated from Kansas, and now
Yeah.
he plays for Philadelphia. And then also I like to follow players a lot.
Okay. Fair enough. I think that's really common in the NBA. People just follow
Yeah.
their favorite college players.
And so like
So,
LaMelo Ball, that's a big one right
mhm.
now that I follow, just because used to watch him like play high school, like the videos on YouTube.
Yep.
Obviously Embiid. I've always liked
Okay.
James Harden and
Yeah.
LeBron. Obviously, I gotta.
That's like the basicest answer you could have given.
I know, but LeBron's just LeBron. Like you would have
I'm
to
a
watch.
big Bucks fan. I was really hoping you would say the Bucks. That's really the only reason I brought it up at all. So I love Giannis, but I do the same thing. I follow players, same thing of I have a Joel jersey and all. Yeah, but the Bucks
But
was the right
also,
answer.
also, I love the NBA players that use social media a lot, because I feel like
Yes.
out of any other sports league, the NBA I would say is the most prominent on social media player wise. Like
Their
I
individual accounts.
yes, I
Yeah.
see a lot more like individual NBA players making like content rather than football and baseball players.
Really? That's
I
so
see it.
weird.
Yeah,
Okay, so
and
from a media perspective, I tried to explain this to my dad the other day, and he just did not understand what I was talking about. I think recently, especially NFL teams have really upped their game, especially
yeah,
on TikTok. The MLB also, the MLB's just like the entire league's TikTok account,
yeah,
phenomenal. And I think it's the
it's
amount
very
of like
good.
meme usage that I really get to. But I was trying to explain it to my dad this like right before we played the Bills. I was like, well, if they're not playing the Chiefs, I do like the Bills because they're social media. Like, how do you think that media that like obviously we're both into is changing the fan engagement and fan aspect of sports?
It's really changed it. So like for example, like baseball, for the longest time, baseball was kind of had this old school mentality,
Mm-hmm.
and it was kind of perceived that baseball fans are all older people that like grew up watching baseball, and those are the only people that like it.
Right.
But I feel like the MLB could still do a better job, but what they've been doing with like the young players and like kind of staying on top of like TikTok trends, like that helps. People don't understand how much like that grows a young audience for a sport.
Yeah.
And that's why I think, like, I go back to the NBA. The NBA, like, they're kind of like, there's the most swag, I guess you could say, or like style is in the NBA.
Yeah.
But I also believe that's why there's so many young basketball fans, is because
for sure
it's fun. And like football, they got it down now. I see guys playing in like Cuban chains, like playing football in
They're
chains.
Getting better.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then the MLB, I'd say like 2020, like around the COVID, like when TikTok really blew up, I'd say that's when MLB started to make the change.
Okay.
And now it's like they are very on top of the trends. Like, and
yeah.
But I also feel like now, like the young audience of baseball has grown so much since that COVID year.
Right. I do think that the MLB in the past couple of years has made a bunch of major changes. Like the City Connect jerseys every year. I look forward to seeing what they're going to do. My favorite's Milwaukee's. I just adore like the Brew City jerseys they do. I don't know why, but that's one of my favorite things to do, which is totally like the like marketing freak in me. That's like, that design is dumb. That's too much. Or like that one was too boring. I love looking at them for sure. One MLB player, he just came up on my feed like yesterday. And I was like, I think I recognize this guy, and looked at the name and I was like, yes, I do. You should follow Bryce Harper's TikTok.
Yes.
It's so comical. Like
I saw that he has started making coffee tutorials.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. I saw him making his like homemade Gatorade tutorial. And I was like, what the heck is this? And then, I saw the name and I was like, okay. Get your bag, I guess.
But like going back to like the MLB's TikTok account, they have been reposting Bryce Harper's coffee videos.
Really? I haven't seen that yet.
And they've been like sharing it, and like it's been like his coffee videos have been everywhere. And, but like that's another example. Like TikTok, the MLB saw that on TikTok. People like that Bryce Harper were doing that, and people love Bryce Harper because he's fun to watch. So what do? They take Bryce Harper's video and post it on their account because they know people like to watch it. And I
think it makes them more personable in any sport, but like especially in the MLB, like there are so many games and so many players, it's hard to keep track of. Like look at, football, you look at basketball, and it's like there's 10, 15 guys on the roster, and most of their names. But with baseball, like that roster is I have no idea. I should know.
Anywhere between 25 to 40 people, depending on what time of year it is.
I was going to say, like, we know like NFL, I think it's like 42 or something like that. Like, the main guys, but baseball, I feel like there's so many stats, so many games that you just can't keep up with it. But putting more like names to faces, I think really helps, and showing them as people. Like I said, that's why I will consider myself a Bills fan every now and then, is because their social media has made me like learn to love some of the personalities of their players.
Exactly. And that's why I was saying, like with the NBA, like that's why I think so many people like NBA players, is because like so many of them do a good job of like promoting themselves as people and not necessarily as athletes.
Right. And for sure.
People love that because that's something they can relate to. Not everybody can relate to some guy dunking the ball or wearing like expensive jewelry, or like, like not everybody can relate to that. But like Bryce Harper, like not that many people can relate to being a major league first baseman.
Right.
But people can relate to drinking. Yeah, exactly. People can relate to him making coffee in the morning. So, because people do that every day.
That's Okay, well, we have now gone over my time limit, which means my editor, sorry, Easton. I think this is like our third episode in a row. Sorry, Easton, you're going to have a lot of editing to do, but we should get on closing out the show. Per usual, this episode is brought to you by 810 Sports Radio. 810 bringing you the next generation of athletes, sports fans, 810 listeners right here on the Next Gen Podcast. So thank you everyone for tuning in. Like I said, our season is starting to close out, so make sure you follow our socials. They're always tagged below. And of course, follow Caden's socials, either his personal, or I really wanted to highlight his Media by Caden on Instagram. Go check out his work. It's pretty dang cool. It's pretty impressive. So one last time, thank you, Caden, for being here, and we'll have to catch up with you when you're actually in season and, you get your Christmas day. You get to go hig. So
Exactly.
thanks for
Thank
being
you for
on
having me.
here. Yeah, of course. We'll see y'all next time.